Well, today we are talking about building joyful professional communities. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa and I'm with the CFT Institute. We train therapists, counselors, and spiritual leaders in a framework approach that combines neuroscience and faith. So let's jump into our topic. Monica, I'm going to throw it to you with a question. Have you ever been a part of a professional community that has not been joyful, that has been draining?
Well, I'm not sure if I should answer that question if one of my colleagues is listening. No, I'm teasing. Well, before I was a therapist, I was a teacher. And before I was a teacher, I was a waitress. And I did that for years and years. My grandfather was in catering. So I was waiting on people since I was 6 years old. So I've been a part of plenty low joy professional communities throughout my world. And I think a way I would say it is more of like pseudo joy professional communities. Because
Yes.
I definitely remember going home, even for my work as a waitress, and telling my mom, I love the people I work with. We have so much fun. I worked at Red Lobster when I was in college, high school, college. And I just loved the multi generations. Really, it was the older
Yeah.
ladies on our team, and we just had so much fun together. So it's not about whether or not it's fun to me. It's more like, did we know how to repair ruptures? Did we know how to be tender to one another and be empathic? Did
Yeah.
we know how to really build community and loyalty around weakness? So the answer to that is no, right? Like when I look
Yeah.
at all the professional communities I was a part of before I have been so intentional with the one I'm in now, we didn't know how to do it at this level. And that's why the groups didn't last or they disbanded or whatever. It was just a place to work sometimes, not a place to belong. I guess I could say it
Yes.
that way. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, of course. Like I've been a part of a lot of different organizations and been in a couple different professions before becoming a therapist, even. And I would say a lot of them, obviously, we created friendships at work. And so there were lots of good things about it. But I think so many work environments are built off of performance and what you're producing and information versus relationship, right? And making sure that there's healthy dynamics happening. It wasn't like the focus wasn't on attachment or joy. It
Mhm.
was how well are you performing? And it was interesting. I was just talking to the group of therapists I work with here in Colorado, and we were talking through a legal ethical issue, and a lot of them were even saying that how many times in supervision, in school, in consult groups, where they have felt like so much of what they're doing is being critiqued, torn apart. It really comes down to performance to the point that I don't know if you've seen this, Monica. There's like these different trending groups right now where it's therapists asking questions, but it's so like down to like the silliest things. And I say silly, they actually mean it. Like, am I allowed to drink water in front of a client? Like, it's so fear driven.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I think as we jump into this conversation, I thought it might be helpful to even start with what tends to be missing in some of our consultation groups, our professional settings, where maybe if those who are listening feel like, gosh, I don't know that I would say that the group I'm a part of or my professional community is joyful and relational, right? What are maybe some of the components that are missing? What are your
It's a,
thoughts?
it's a good point. And I think just to follow up on what you were saying and answer that question at the same time, I remember Ed Curry saying, it's not as important what you're doing, it's who you're doing it with. And that was a real head
Mm-hmm.
scratcher for me. I had to like really rework my perspective
Mm-hmm.
on what life is. And I identify as an Enneagram 1. And so as an Enneagram 1, or at least at this point in my life, I identify that way. we are a get her done, like do it for the
Mhm.
world, do it for the betterment of society, and sacrifice all in hopes of changing something.
Mhm.
And there's a passion toward a movement, something like this. And so it really caused me to think, what does that mean? But I also remember being in a lot of different environments, whether it was a church my husband was working at, or a school that I had worked at, or even some my previous therapeutic communities. It was like I had this passion toward. I had this vision of I want to do something really amazing with a group of people who wants to do it with me, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's why I'm so excited to be at the Center for Family Transformation now, because that's really what's happening is we've got this environment where we're doing that. But it's really, would it be as impactful to do the big thing and to do the thing that feels like it's productive and helpful to culture and society if you didn't have the people to do it with? And I would say no. I mean, what I think is missing is that sense, like you said, of problems are more important than people.
Mhm.
There's that we're lacking brain skills and we don't even know what they are.
Mhm.
We know what we're lacking to get through. And then we get into enemy mode with each other. Our relational circuits turn off. We may backbite and talk about each other behind our backs
Yeah.
and create that sense of low joy where people are fear based. We have fear bonds rather than love bonds with each other. And we
Yes.
kind of pretend we don't, but we don't really know how to do it any other way. And maybe we feel insecure or we feel better than or prideful or whatever it is. There's a lot going on and we don't even know what to do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, I couldn't agree more. I think that there's almost you put it really well. Problems become more important than people because it's more task oriented oftentimes, right? What do we need to get done? But are we sincerely glad to be with each other? I think another thing I would add to that list is, the difference between we work at the same place versus is there some sense of belonging here?
Yeah.
Do we belong to one another? Like, who are we to one another? Um, but yeah, I think that when we become more focused on the problem, there's a lack of attunement that happens. We're not really tuned into other people and what's happening for them. Everybody, in some ways, is kind of on their own. And then when conflict comes up, because we don't have the skills and we haven't been building the relationship, we really don't have a lot of ways to solve it well and repair. And so sometimes tensions can linger or there's avoidance that comes into play. And yeah, I would say in this field, this is such an important thing to talk about because we're already doing a lot of the work alone, right? I close my door, I work with a client, and no one knows, right? We really need community in this work.
Mhm.
And if our communities are not joyful places where we feel a sense of belonging and safety, then I think it does lead to what we've talked about before, which is that therapist burnout, right? I think it can be a contributing factor to it.
I'll tag in there, Alyssa, and say it doesn't mean if you have a community with the people you work with that you're hanging out with them every day or on the weekend.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're even connecting every, by text every day. What it means is you've done the work to cultivate community. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing the work to pay attention to what's going on in the way that you respond internally, not just externally, but internally in your heart to others. You're adjusting accordingly with God's help,
Mm-hmm.
creating a safe place for people to belong. I mean, it can just be through text messages, through, our team has a text thread that's going on continually and everybody's included, everybody's invited. And if there is anything going on in one of our lives, one of the groups we reach out to is each other. It's
Mm-hmm.
a knee-jerk response of these are my people and they care. Or if one of us is going through something like maybe with a client situation and we have questions, somebody is going to be available at a
Mhm.
moment's notice because we're really there for one another. So you can feel that secure attachment without it being clingy or too much, or the expectation being too high that we have to fill each other's, gaps, so to speak,
Mm.
socially. Um, but it's more this idea that it's a benevolent, joyful, spirit-filled community where we can really trust that other people have our best interest at heart, and that even if we have a conflict, we're going to be able to work through it and repair it.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that, Monica, and adding that in, because I agree. It really doesn't have to be these people are my entire world and social network. Um, it's, I think a little bit actually goes a long way. You create belonging at work, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think it just changes things dramatically. For instance, I just had a phone call this morning with a therapist at my office who we haven't gotten to connect in a long time. But we had like 15 minutes, and it was like such a joyful connection spot. And I think that because we have that secure attachment, it really doesn't matter that a lot of time has elapsed. I know I could call her in a moment where I am struggling personally, professionally. I just had a really terrible session and I'm feeling really vulnerable, anything. And I know that she would pick up the phone and be there for me because we have that sense of secure attachment. So, yeah, and I think that the cool thing is that I think that no matter what kind of community you currently have, there's definitely a possibility to incorporate a lot of these things in. And if you're wanting to create a more joyful professional community, there's ways to do that and start putting these practices into place and maybe getting even more people on board with it. Um, One of those things, and I would love to hear from you, like what you think, but one of the things that I personally do, because I run the consultation group at my practice, is we always start with just glad to be together, joyful connection. And so whether that's doing check-ins, where are you coming in at, just so that we're attuning, we're recognizing where people are at, and doing appreciations, things like that, to build joy together and that sense of gladness, right?
Yes, Alyssa, it's so wonderful. Being friends with therapists is like so great because we go deep. We're
Yes.
authentic and genuine a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times. And so
Yeah.
it's like if you have so many best friends when you're in a group of therapists, it's really beautiful. But I have definitely been in consultation groups that have been scary because
Yes.
you're thinking I'm going to be picked out, or criticized, or it's awkward because you don't want to share and you don't want to tell, and you don't expose yourself because you might get this feedback that is not relational, or you're the one being exposed. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can be such a beautiful time of like curiosity and encouragement and vulnerability and safety. And that's really what we want, right, is to grow together in these groups. And so consultation groups are huge for building joyful community. And I think also having time to do reflective dialogue when there is a rupture of some kind, so
Mm,
did this and it hurt me or whatever. And instead of just pretending it didn't happen, we have
yeah.
to be brave enough to have these conversations. And after a while of having healthy dialogue that's rupture and repair, we begin to trust, hey, this person's not going to leave me if we have a rupture. We've gotten through it before. We're going to get through it again. And it becomes not scary. It becomes actually something like, I know my friend can handle this and I can handle it. And we grow together. And so beautiful to be able to
Mhm.
do that. Um, I think there's so many aspects to building joyful community with the people that you work with that are very nuanced, very specific and unique, but you don't really know until you learn some of this neurotheology and how to apply the life model, how to do the brain skills. You don't even really know it's happening
Yeah.
because we're so used to being in low joy or pseudo joy environments where there is playing favorites. I like this person better than this person, or leaving people out, or whatever it is, or doing whatever in a fear based way rather than a love based way. And um, I think one of the things that we do in our practice is really celebrate one another, celebrate birthdays, celebrate at Christmas or different times of year, where
Mhm.
about gifts as much as it's about words and little surprises that make others' eyes light up, and having the check-ins, like you said, that really build community. And when you start to build community with the people that you work with, even if it's a small group at first, when others join in, they are joining into something really unique and special. And that's what I've
Mhm.
heard from people who've come in and observed our team. Like, wow, how did this happen? I mean, you joined us, right, when we did
Mhm.
ACC together, and then when you came out for the training on the attachment to a manual module. And so there's this sense of when people from that aren't on our team come in, they say, oh, look, you all are very connected. How did that happen? It's not just,
Mhm.
oh, it just happened that way. That's a lot of cultivation.
That's right.
And so that's why we are starting to offer executive consultation for any practice owners or pastors or whoever is trying to, if you're trying to lead a group as a leader and you're having trouble figuring out, or you just want to be proactive, I'm getting ready to start this group, or it's going okay, but how do I cultivate a culture of belonging and honor and respect and honor and connection, joyful
Mhm.
connection in a group? How do I
Mhm.
do that?
Yep.
It's not impossible, yet it is really, really intentional
Mhm.
and complex at some level to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And I think that um, I'm glad that you brought that up doing the consultation groups because I even remember, Monica, when you were telling me about some of your identity groups, I was like, how do you do that? And I need a framework. I want to understand better. And so it is helpful to have people to walk alongside of you who have been doing a lot of the intentional work, have these joyful professional communities. And so we've learned a lot of the tools that need to be there. Because it does take a lot of intentionality for sure.
For sure. Yes. And so I think you're speaking to, Alyssa, like we are starting consultation groups for anybody who's professional going through our training programs and wants to be a part of a group that's growing together. But we're also offering executive consulting for
Mm,
leaders who might want one on one time with one of our executive team members to say,
yeah,
hey, like how can we what would you say, how can we form a unique plan for you to help
right.
you get to know this curriculum and apply it in your setting? So if anybody's listening and wants to know more about that, you can look at our website as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Monica, if you could summarize, if somebody was like, how do I know if I have accomplished this? I have a joyful professional community or not? Like, how do you think that they would know that that's happening?
That's a really interesting question. And what first comes to my mind is your body will feel at peace with those that you're with.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me. You know, we do these reciprocal feedback meetings at the end of the year with our team. And uh, for the first many years, I would be really nervous. Like, what are they going to say? I tell them, I want you to tell
Mm,
me the truth. What is it like to work with me? And, you know, I want feedback. That is, if we can't get feedback to each other, we're not going to grow. Like, we don't want to create a narcissistic culture where we don't know what's really happening. And so I would be really nervous. Oh no, what are they going to say? And nervous to give the feedback as well to these people I'm working with who I love so much and who, you know, we're imperfect, we're humans. And in the last 2 years, it's been amazing because I'm like, oh, I don't feel nervous. I don't feel nervous to give the feedback. I don't feel nervous to receive it. It feels like I'm going to
mm,
my friend that's honest and open. And while there's a plethora of positive things, there are also some things that, here's what I noticed for your benefit, right?
Yeah.
If I can give you that feedback, then you can take it into your individual psychological, spiritual time to reflect on, and that's going to help you get better. And the people on our team, they graciously take that in, and then
Mm.
I will get some feedback as well. Some are still nervous to do that, but I will get that feedback as well and hear from
Mm.
them. It's like, thank you for telling me that. That is not something I thought about. Or, oh my goodness, I remember when that thing happened and I was, short
Mm.
with that person or whatever. And I didn't even, think about that again. And now you're bringing it up. Thank you so much for your bravery to do that. And so what I notice for myself is that I just feel a lot more peaceful. I'm not nervous about meetings. I'm not nervous about interactions. I feel safe to ask for help. I feel safe to be weak, even as the leader, that I'm not going to be exploited in that I'm going to be supported and encouraged.
Mm.
And it feels peaceful in my body and loving and, uh,
Mm.
and connecting in my heart.
Gosh, I feel like people who are listening to you right now, Monica, who have maybe had no exposure to this are probably like, what? I didn't even know that was possible to like work through conflict and get feedback and feel peace in your body. What is, how is that possible? Right.
I know it sounds like a utopia and like a idea, but this is where I'm like, this works. Like if people knew that it worked, they would do it, right? But it is working. It's not just, it's fake. It's not fake. And you and I know, like we've been in lots of different, both church cultures and therapeutic cultures and business cultures. We know it's not easy. It's really hard. It's really complicated. And there is a way through it.
Mhm.
And the life model kind of leads the way.
Totally. Yep. You just have to learn the skills, right? And start being intentional, putting them into practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually
And,
did. We've started. Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
and not in isolation, right? Like you can think, oh, I can learn the skills and then I'm
Yeah.
fine. Like, that's not a thing.
No, has to be in community. Yeah. We actually just started to even change some of the way that we're doing our interview process, and I'm incorporating in life model stuff. And so one of them, Monica, was that we had this new person who was getting interviewed come in and train our team on something they specialize in, which is really, right, fear provoking. And they came in, and what we did as they wrapped up is we went around and spoke identity over them. And they were like, I feel wrapped in a hug right now by this group. Like you could just see how safe they felt to present something that was so important to them, So it was fun to get to incorporate something like that and give them even a taste of the kind of practice we are, that we're just different. We do things differently. So,
And this is not just for women, right? This is also for men. We have men on our teams, right? And
it actually was a guy that was coming in to interview. So, and he was like, I love this. This is amazing. So
good.
Yeah. Well, this has been so fun having this conversation with you. And gosh, there's just obviously so much more that we can dive into. Thank you all for tuning in today. If you want to go deeper with any of this, as you're listening, if there's questions that are popping up and you're wanting to understand all these skills that we're talking about, we have a full series of trainings available at cftinstitute.com. In fact, you can start exploring a lot of these things for free to get a taste of it. And we would love for you to jump in and start training on this stuff. And remember, healing spreads when counselors live in joy. We'll see you in the next episode.